Welcome to the podcast, where a passion meets purpose and limits are challenged. I'm your host, Eleonora Gendelman. Let's start bending reality. Freedom is my highest value. What do we actually mean when we say freedom? Because the way we define freedom will design our entire life. And many people are living inside definitions of freedom that are actually keeping them small. We are taught that freedom means no rules, no structure, no limits, no responsibility. Freedom as I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. But let's be honest, that version of freedom often leads to exhaustion, chaos, lack of direction, poor health, emotional dysregulation, and regret. That is not freedom. That is reactivity dressed up as liberation. True freedom is not the absence of structure. True freedom is choice with awareness. Freedom is the ability to choose, not to escape. Real freedom begins when you realize you are not free when you act impulsively. You are free when you can pause and choose. Freedom is not, I eat whatever I want, whenever I want. Freedom is, I know how food affects my body, my mind, my sleep, my energy, and I choose accordingly to fuel myself. Freedom is not, I fill every moment with noise. Freedom is, I can choose silence without fear of discomfort. Freedom is not, I avoid being alone. Freedom is, I enjoy my own company. Freedom is not doing more. Freedom is needing less. One of the deepest forms of freedom is time autonomy. Freedom is to design your day, decide when you work, decide when you rest, decide when you create, decide when you disconnect. But here's the paradox. If you cannot be with yourself, time freedom becomes terrifying. Many people stay busy, not because they are free, but because they are avoiding presence. True freedom means I trust myself with my own time. Freedom and discipline are not opposites. Discipline is not the opposite of freedom. Discipline is the container that makes freedom sustainable. If you eat without awareness, food controls you. If you move without intention, you create injuries. If you scroll without boundaries, attention disappears. Structure does not limit freedom. It protects it. The most free people I know, including me, prioritize their sleep, eat intentionally, fuel their bodies, train and move their bodies with purpose, protect their focus, their energy, their space, their privacy, say no, and set boundaries. So ask yourself honestly, is freedom eating anything at any time? Or is freedom having a body that feels strong, rested, alive? Is freedom ignoring consequences? Or is freedom understanding cause and effect and choosing from power? Freedom is not rebellion. Freedom is collaboration and co-creation. Silence is one of the most underrated freedoms. Freedom to not respond immediately. Freedom to not fill space with words. Freedom to not distract yourself. Freedom to not explain yourself. Silence is not emptiness. It is clarity without interference. If silence feels uncomfortable, it means your inner world is asking for attention. Freedom is listening instead of numbing. Freedom to be alone without feeling lonely is a big one. Freedom is being able to sit with yourself without reacting. Freedom is being able to sit with yourself without reaching for your phone, another person, food, noise, validation. Loneliness is not the absence of people. Loneliness is the absence of connection with yourself. The more at home you are within yourself, the more free you become in relationships, because you're no longer choosing from lack, you are choosing from fullness. Different definitions of freedom create different lives. And here's a powerful question. What does freedom mean to you, really? Not the rebellious definition, not the socially approved one, but your definition. Is freedom peace, self-ownership, being the authority of your own life? Is freedom health, spaciousness, choice, presence, independence, simplicity? Your life will move toward whatever you define as freedom. So define consciously. Now, how to define freedom for yourself? First, identify where you feel most free. Is it being in nature? Is it being with yourself? Is it when you are working out? Is it when you are doing what you really love? 2, notice what drains your freedom. Maybe it's being around people. Maybe it's doing things you actually do not enjoy doing, but you think you have to do them. 3, separate impulse from choice. Impulse feels urgent. Choice feels calm. 4, create your non-negotiables. Boundaries are freedom anchors. The highest form of freedom, here's my definition. The highest form of freedom is being so grounded in yourself that nothing outside of you runs your life. Not cravings, not fear, not noise, not pressure, not expectations. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. That's impulse. Freedom is not reacting. That's conditioning. Freedom is choice made from presence. Freedom is self-trust. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust yourself to respond when life asks. Freedom is self-leadership, the ability to stay with yourself in discomfort, to hold your own nervous system, to choose alignment over relief. Freedom is knowing that you are the one choosing your thoughts, your actions, your pace, your standards, your direction. Freedom is not needing to escape your life. Freedom is being able to stay. It's having the capacity to pause instead of reacting, to listen instead of panicking, to feel without being ruled by emotion. Freedom is your energy, your attention. It's when boundaries feel clean, not heavy, when silence feels safe, when presence feels like home. The highest form of freedom is living from clarity instead of compulsion, from truth instead of survival, from choice. That's freedom. The ultimate freedom for me is being so deeply in love with your own company that you no longer feel the urge to escape yourself. No constant need to distract, no compulsive reactions, no talking to fill silence, no craving to be somewhere else, someone else, doing something else. Free from urges, free from the constant pull of desire, free from the need to prove, free from the need to react, free from the feeling I'm not enough. Ultimate freedom is being able to sit in a room alone and feel full and feel present and just enjoy your own company so much that there is nothing else you would do instead and no one else you would be instead. And from this feeling, then you can create something magical, not for validation, not for applause, but from fullness, excitement, fulfillment, wholeness. It's being in any environment, loud or silent, chaotic or calm, and remaining internally steady. Not because you suppress your needs, not because you numbed yourself, but because you genuinely like who you are and you know that you have the choice. You have the conscious choice to be. Because you trust yourself, because you're not chasing validation, because you're not negotiating your worth. That kind of freedom cannot be given by money, not by a relationship, not by achievement, not by applause. It comes from dissolving the story of unworthiness, regulating your nervous system, from the commitment to staying true to yourself and doing that inner work and falling in love with yourself again and again and again, with yourself, with the process, with your journey, and trusting that your journey is the best journey that exists. When you're free from the urge to escape your own skin, you are free everywhere. That is freedom. If you found this episode valuable, please rate, review, and share with someone who would benefit as well. Thank you for choosing yourself, doing the work, and creating change. Keep living with purpose.